Hey guys, how you doing? I'm just gonna give a little prophetic report regarding giants in the land. Interesting topic. Haven't talked about it for a long time, but they've been finding recently. I guess there's some sightings and stuff like that of giants. So giants in the land, are they real? Um, is it a fairy tale? Why is these reports being told or videos coming up? Very popular talk of it. As we talk about the biblical terms of giants, there's actually a lot. Before I go into that, let me show you some of the popular ones that they're saying in sightings and so forth. One is the Solomon Island. There are reports of giants in the land. One was reported 10 feet tall. I guess that's one of the popular ones. Solomon Island, uh, uh, Solomon Island, um, near the place there. They reported different sightings of it, caves, um, materials and stuff, and told that they were like cannibals, getting tribes and stuff like that. The smallest of the giants were 10 feet tall, and then they go in bigger size. One of the favorite famous stories that they're covering is the one of these back in 1942 to 45, where the Japanese and the U.S. forces were engaging during World War II, and then reported that these Japanese army, or they were there at the sightings there, reported of giants, um, this giant attacking them and reporting. They said they reported creatures around 10 to 15 tall. Sounds like Kong's Island or something like that, right? You kind of wonder where did they get that movie? Where did they get that idea? Well, they had to get it from somewhere. So, anyways, this is documented in Solomon Island, where they found this, and this was a Japanese encounter of these so-called giants that were roaming in the situation there. Very interesting there. Another interesting article that I found, also not in the Solomon Islands but different places, was this one article here. Goes way back, and this was actually a book or documented saying that reports of existing giant human-like creatures in North America. This is the little book here. It says footprints as much as 16 inches lengthwise and footwise. That's pretty big in North America, right? So there's more sites of that. Another one here, as I scroll down here just to clarify, is the interesting. This is giants, but this one here was back in September 27 of 2017, and they found a tree rat. So they call it a giant tree rat, was discovered in Solomon Island. This big old rodent that was giant that they found there. And there's the, I guess, the skeletons and so forth of that. Very interesting that my thoughts is that reports of giants in that same area in Solomon Island. Now they found a giant giant rat. Now you know the story of Godzilla and the whole thing, the island of the Monster Island and stuff about these huge monsters that came about. One thing you should check out, there was this one movie that came out a long time ago. It was a Japanese edition, was Godzilla versus Ghidorah. This is like back in 1992, and a Japanese version of it, they released a U.S. version of Japanese subtitles and voicing and whatever. So they actually showed these Japanese army, just like the article that you saw earlier, encountered a dinosaur, that protected them or whatever. But then they're saying something about radiation. It caused these monsters to develop large, kind of like Kong Island or Skull Island or whatever they call it. I guess there was a movie that said something regarding that. So this is actual fact. This is not a conspiracy story, but this was actually what they found. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So it's all connected, right? So and okay, so before we go into more stuff, I want to show you some of the interesting things that I came up with regarding the giants in the land. So here's very interesting of this about, they call it Nephilims in the Bible, right? Well, first one encounter was where David, it says the famous story was David versus Goliath, right? So you never think about that, but Goliath was a giant, so he was a Nephilim, man. And this is like after the flood, bro. This is after the flood where David is actually encountering a giant. And so you know the story of that. But beforehand, you go into Genesis chapter 6, where it talks about the sons of gods and the spirit of gods mingled with the women, and they came these giants out of them, or Nephilims they call them. So it goes on with the scripture on that. Now, my belief on that is this: in Noah's flood, why would God actually, there's people are saying, so why would God actually, if he's a loving God, why would he want to actually wipe out these people, wipe out these wicked people? Now, beforehand, before giants, they were talking about these things were actually, wicked people and wickedness, according to the scriptures. So God was going to wipe them out, right? Well, my theory, my thoughts was that because these were Nephilims, and so God wanted to wipe these things out. Now, there's cases in the Bible where God says to the people, okay, so these one here, we'll leave them alone. Just ignore these people. We'll deal with it later, so don't kill them. But these ones here, they wanted to kill. So why is that? It's kind of weird. So Nephilims, that's what I thought. So obviously we go back in scripture with David and Goliath, because the book, David was, way forward from the flood, right? So somehow these Nephilims did survive, or some of them, or whatever, but they still were there because David battled Goliath, who was a Nephilim, right? And then we know the story about after Moses going into the promised land, after the whole thing about parting the Red Sea of the Egyptians, you know that story, right? The Ten Commandments, the movie. So with Joshua, he sent spies out and then to this land, and they were supposed to take this land, and there were some spies that went out to encounter the land, and they said that there were giants in the land. Very interesting. Well, I want to go into this scripture here, which is kind of very interesting, which I thought you guys would check it out, be interesting, and I didn't see before. So let me just close that one out quick and just go into this part. Now, see what this one here is very interesting because I never showed it before. This is the King James version. It says that it came to pass, surely they multiplied face of the earth, the daughters and men, the sons of God saw the daughters of man, and they mingled with them, and there were giants in the earth in those days. Okay, so that's the scripture right there, right? Now, very interesting, in this other verse here, well, not that one, sorry, but the other one here, Okay, let's go in here. I'm trying to push it in here. Okay, here we go. So comparison here. Now check this out. And I didn't see this before, but it's right there in the NIV. So they must have changed it to suit this whole thing. Because this is the same verse here, but this is the NIV version here now. It says the same thing. It says when the human beings began to increase in numbers of the earth, the daughters were both born. It says the sons of God saw the daughters of the humans were beautiful. They married and chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit would no longer contend with the human forever, because they are immortal. In those days to be 120. So he decreased their years. My thoughts, what I heard is that humans were able to live about 1,000 years or something, because Adam was 900 and something like that. So I could be wrong, but he lived for a long time. But now God, according to scripture here, it says that because of the wickedness, we're going to limit their days. And then look at here, verse 4. I want you to check this out. And I thought it was kind of interesting. It says, verse 4 in the NIV version, which is the new international version, it says the Nephilims were on the earth in those days and also after then, and they mingled with the daughters of men. Look at the King James version here. It says, and there were giants. So there's two different words here meaning the same thing. So what does that tell you? So they obviously put in the Nephilims in place of the scripture here for giants. So there you go. More proof in the Bible regarding Nephilims, giants, and so forth. I thought it was kind of interesting. Moving on. So what does this all have to do with what I'm saying? Okay, so according to the Testament in Matthew, or the future, or right now per se, what's going to happen, it says that in the last days there is going to be like the days of Moses, days of Noah, right? So I want you to look at this one verse. This is in Matthew 24. Matthew 24 is the famous, I would say, the same famous chapter about the end times, the last days description. So you know that. So I'm going to straight go into the verse where it talks about the days of Noah. So it says in verse 37, it says, as the days of Noah, so were the days, so were also the coming of the Son of Man. So for the days of, and as of those days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving marriage until the day Noah into the ark. They knew not the flood coming, and also it would be the days of the Son of Man. What's it talking about? It says, okay, so people are going to go into their normal days and just like how they normally live, drinking, eating, whatever, and it's going to be when Jesus comes through the skies of his second coming. I don't know if it's talking about the rapture or the second coming, whatever, but anyways, this verse is talking about those days. But what I want to look at is the days of Noah. So what happened in the days of Noah? Well, we know the days of Noah. Why the flood happened? He was wiping out the wicked nations. Now, the different Bible verses in the different transitions didn't really describe what it was, but in the NIV did talk about giants as Nephilims. So my conclusion on this whole thing is that it's talking about Nephilims coming back. So my thought is that Nephilims somehow are going to return somehow in some form. But will they be in giants or other things? I don't know. Some thoughts they're saying is that it could be transhumanism, changing of DNA, changing our godly structures, thoughts of our DNA being changed and transformed into a different species or whatever. And so that's kind of like today, right? With everything happening. So I'm trying to keep this kind of generic on the verse, what it's trying to say, but obviously you know what it is with the different changing of our DNA. So I believe that's part of the whole Nephilim thing. So let's move on. Okay, so what I want you to look at, I'm going to put this back here. So we back in the topic here, giants. That's the topic, right? Or Nephilims. Now this is just a thought, and this is just a side note. I was talking to a friend of mine, actually yesterday, and they read a book about the sightings of UFOs and stuff like that. And he read this book about the conclusion, what the scientists said. And he said, and this is his words and what he read on the book, it said, and I'll try to find the book and I'll try to let you know what it was. But he said that in the conclusion of this person doing investigations of these UFOs, he said that these UFOs were demonic, what do you say, manifestations, and we should not pursue these things because it's demonic. What are Nephilims? Obviously, it's demonic, right? Because it's fallen angels mingling with women and giving birth. I know there's a pastor that I listen to that's actually doing a series on the seeds, different, how important the seeds are and their mingling. To make a story short, basically our DNA, our God DNA is being changed into this other thing. And that happens in the book of Revelation where they take the mark and they take the throat here. Just want to show you this interesting. Now this is interesting here what I saw. What you're looking here, I did a thing on Bigfoot. So you ever thought that maybe Bigfoot could be like one of the Nephilims that are alive or so forth? They described the one in Solomon Island or that they were hairy, they had a flat nose, big mouth, teeth and stuff. They look like kind of like a big version of King Kong, right? Or human King Kong, whatever. So anyways, this side here, what you're seeing here, this is a Google map of all the sightings in New York of the sighting of Bigfoot. Look at it, and it goes out all the way up from May the 14th to July the 17th, and it goes on and on. So these are all sightings people reported of Bigfoot. Is that cool or what? That is pretty interesting. Sightings of Bigfoot all in this one area. This is just one area here, right here near New York and so forth. And look, it goes on. You click onto here. So from May the 14th all the way up to 1999 summer, October 2000 to September to 2002. Let's go all the way up to the present day, which is October the 22nd. So the last sighting that anybody reported was October the 22nd, right here, October the 22nd, right in this area. And that's not too long ago, right? So let's try to zero in here. Oh, it's in the forest. So someone was going deer hunting, and they said that they had a sighting of Bigfoot in the land. Could it be Bigfoot, or it could be a Nephilim, maybe? There you go. So that's in October the 22nd. Sorry, October the 22nd of that. Gosh, sorry, this thing's annoying. So anyways, going back, so here's the present day of all the sightings of Bigfoot. So this thing is still going on, folks. And my thought is maybe there's a connection with sighting Bigfoot and the Nephilim. Could be. So, anyways, what does it all mean? I'm not sure, but I think we're going back to where where we were regarding that, how it was in the beginning, how it is in in the present. So you can see in the Bible scriptures, these are all scriptures that talk about giants or Nephilims right here, right in front of you. From Numbers, Genesis, all the way up to Deuteronomy 23. It says that encountered the last Nephilim. There's one Nephilim battles there and describes the length. It also describes as the different beds that they used. So obviously there's a what they found with these Nephilims, but they also found a bed connected to it. Very interesting, right? I think it's pretty interesting. So look at all that. All these scriptures that talk about the Nephilims, and there's the Joshua and Caleb, Joshua 11, where it talks about the giants of the land. So this thing goes on and on and on, and all the way up to First Samuel 17, where David kills Goliath, Nephilim, right? Let's see here, all the way up to Second Samuel, where David and his mighty men finish off the giants. So there was so Goliath wasn't the only one. There was other ones, because it says right here in Second Samuel that David and his army finished off the giants, and that's like after Goliath. So this is going on still, and then First Chronicles 20, it talks more about it. Conclusion of the giants today, Nephilim in Genesis 6:4, Numbers 3:13, about the species and different things going on. Giants still coming, still going, so it's still happening today. Could it be? What is the Bible talking about, right? Is it the land of Canaan, what they're talking about in Matthew 28, or Romans 4:13, about the whole earth of giants in the land of Canaan, filled with Christ's enemies? So Colossians 2:15, where it talks about having victory over the spiritual giants that defeat the power of Christ. So we are at war, no matter what, of giants. That's the topic today. Pray about it. I thought it was kind of interesting. I think there's a connection with this whole Bigfoot, Solomon Island, the giant rat you saw there. So it's pretty weird, but they're around. So it's going to still be around here. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe to my YouTube as well as my Rumble, and we'll see you there. God bless.